All right, everybody. Gonna get myself situated here. My phone. Good evening or good morning. It is 1:17 my time. I hope everyone's getting some decent sleep if they can. And if you can't, well, come join me. We have a lot to discuss. All right. Let's see. Here we go. Go. Mhm. Oh my god. Snapchat is fucking like if you couldn't. I don't even know. Like these are the type of people that like just piss me the frick off. It's like I just want to go on Snapchat. I just want to be on Instagram. Why the hell I post something and then all of a sudden you get like nothing but bot scams? It's like, dude, get a fucking life. Like, the crazy part is I don't mind. Like, I understand that everybody has their vices. Everybody has like something that they deem is worthy or worth it or whatever. But bro, like I, I like if you're a sex worker, cool, right? Cool beans. You're coming out with you're coming with a service that somebody wants, right? But like hold on, I can't. Hearing myself talk is stupid. Um, but the problem is like if you're a sex work if you're a sex worker, you have you have a service that is getting done, right? Like someone's got a whatever. What is it with these like sugar people and these like scammers where they're like, oh well, yeah, if you send me this, whatever, I'll come to you or whatever. Like, dude, for all that, be a sex worker. So, I don't have to sit here and think that like you're gonna rob me or whatever. But like, it is the dumbest scam ever. It's like, oh, would you like to be my sugar baby? And then it's like you're asking me to be the sugar baby, but then what do I gain out of it? Like nothing. Like if you're gonna freaking offer something, at least offer like something substantial. Like, oh, cause you get a few. Like, no, dude, I've seen that scam for so many times, and like no one ever, and no sugar person is gonna go out of their way and tell you, hey, I'm a sugar daddy, I'm a sugar mama, like I wanna hire you. No, these people got standards. These people got like preferences. They got a way of handling. They're professional. Some of them are at least. And it's like, dude, you're gonna hit me on Snapchat. Like, no. Snapchat is like one of the biggest scam baiting freaking places ever. But I still have fun with it. Because I just sit there and expose them. I expose them. I don't do it on live, but I expose them. Yeah, probably wondering why I'm inside wearing a puppy coat. Well, I don't know what it is about certain places, but they find it very comforting to be in like ice cold weather. And why is my shit packing? The funniest thing is like, dude, I don't understand how these things even work. Oh, I do understand how these things work. Fucking guys and their lonely ass selves. I mean, it goes both ways for men and women, but it's just like, let's see what six signs of social. What the frick did they call this? Schema. Schema. Do you find most social activities exhausting because you feel you don't fit in? I do a lot of the times, yeah. There's definitely some times where I'm sitting there like, oh, like LARPing. I didn't really think LARPing would be good for me. Um, to be honest, even even D&D. A lot of people like back in the day tried to get me into D&D, and I was like, uh, it's medieval stuff. I didn't like medieval. I don't like swords and shields and stuff. Don't get me wrong, I play now, but like still not really the same. Freaking you know, I'm futuristic. I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm a SAO fan, especially when you got to Gun Gale. So, you know, I don't know. You give me that's probably why I like spellcasters and wizards so much, warlocks, because they're all like infused with magic, which is cooler than whatever. Don't get me wrong, everybody's good in their own right, but and every genre is great in their own right. I'm just not a fan of it, so like I won't gravitate to it immediately. But yeah, there's definitely some activities that I'm just like, eh. There's even some activities that I don't go or do because it's looked at as social, but if you do it by yourself, you get like this weird ass eye. So like going to the bar alone, drinking at the bar alone. It's not something I would do by myself. If I'm gonna drink, I'm gonna drink it at home. Um, going fishing or going hiking, I'm not doing it by myself. I'm gonna go and do it with at least one or two other people. This way, you actually get to do the social thing. Like you get to hang out and stuff. Um, I don't. I haven't really fished, but like I have. Um, it's not really my forte either. I mean, the problem with fishing for me is like, again, if I go by myself, it's like if I wanted to go play in the water, if I wanted to go, I don't fish. So there's nothing for me to freaking do by myself to go fishing. It's like, oh, well, it's time by yourself. Okay, and I can go to the beach and swim in the ocean or go to the lake or a pond and swim myself, right? Now that I'll do. But in terms of fishing, nah, I'm not doing it by myself. Going clubbing, not by myself. There's a lot of things I wouldn't do by myself for the opposite reasons of social isolation. I've been isolated socially for so long that I actually want to venture out, but the things that other people want to do, it's like I don't I don't know. That's not my cup of tea. You know what I'm saying? Like, but then you give me the agency to be like, oh well, what do you want to do? Or I'm so simple. I don't care. Like I am really simple. It doesn't matter. But am I gonna have a good time if somebody else chooses? It depends. It really depends. If you're gonna sit there and be like, "Oh yeah, what do you want to do?" I'll be like, "Oh, I don't care," and then you take me to like an art museum I'm gonna enjoy it. Like I'm gonna interact and be civil, but I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, this painting or that. Like I'm not gonna be enthusiastic about, you know, the, I don't know. But then that's where I say like it's different because like, depending on who I go with, that also freaking takes into account. Because it's like, dude, I could go with, you know, uh, I can go with one of my friends and they'd be like, yo, we're going to an art museum. And I'd be like, okay. And they try to tell me like all the facts and all the history. And I'm just like, I don't care, dude. Like, I'm here to look at paintings. Like, I don't. That's the problem is like some things like I could use a history lesson and some I'm just like, why did you tell me? Like, I don't care to learn the backstory to this. And it's like, oh, well, just in case. Just in case what? Like, it's not. Anyway, I'm veering off topic, but let's see what's going on here because I've been in this shoot too. Social isolation schema. Um, this post is one part of the schemas. Okay, let's do this. Social isolation schema. You may have grown up feeling like you don't belong, like there's something wrong with you just being you. Oh, and before I continue any further, this right here, I mean, really, this whole package. Let me finish. There's something wrong for just being you, and now you avoid people and find relationships fake and exhausting, and you feel like you can relax and be you only when you're alone. This right here, this paragraph is why I have the Shadow X emblem. That's why I have on Twitch. It's also Shadow X. On both of my channels on Twitch, I have Shadow X and I have Shadow's Den. Right. So to me, this is how I felt a long, long time in my life, and still to this day, they're still like, eh, right? Sure, I got friends. I don't really say that I would belong with them. Not because like I don't see them as a friend. It's just they're different than what I am. So like there's a disconnect in terms of like attitude. There's a disconnect between like perception of ideals and morality. There's a difference, which is fine. Everyone, I'm not trying to be like everybody else. Problem is that how they conduct themselves is not necessarily how I would conduct myself. So for example, um, Buddy and I were talking, and he brought up the fact that like it's been a year since we went to like some tattoo place, like a tattoo convention, and I'm sitting there like yeah, damn, it's already been a year. That's crazy, right? But in my brain, I'm sitting there like, bro, what do you? Okay, like why bring it up? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to find a reason why like why he would bring it up if it was just like, oh, like if he wanted to say like, hey, it's been a year since we hung out, I'd be like, yeah, I know. Fucking my schedule is fucking different than everybody's. So like whatever. But anyway, like it's just like there's definitely a bunch of them that I'm just like, yeah, like we're cool and I would consider us friends. But like friends as in like, you know, we hung out, we know a few things about each other. There are things that like we know about each other's like families and history and stuff like that. But there, like when I'm thinking of a friend, I'm thinking like I don't know, maybe this is my like white picketed fence uh talking or whatever. But I'm somebody I want somebody who like if I go out of my way to come to you, I want the same in return, right? So like I got people that want me to come to like Texas. They want me to go to like Ohio and stuff, right? But then when I throw the shoe back at them, like you know, when I flip it on them and I say, okay, well, now that I came to you, like what's up? Like, you know, whatever. It's like, no. Like, the thing that I dislike about people so much is like, I don't mind going out of my way for people, but like, people gotta do that shit in return. If you're expecting me to drive, almost 2 hours away, then I would expect the same in return. I mean, that's how I am. Other people may not see it like that. It's like, oh well, it's only an hour away. It's not like it's a lot. It's a lot to me, bro. Like, I understand a lot of people understand, like, oh well, you got lives, you got, families and stuff like that. That's cool. I'm not talking about those. I'm not talking about like every single day. But like, if we haven't hung out in a year, it's like, okay, sure. One would say, oh well, you guys went to the tattoo. Where's that place at? Oh, it's in Philly. Okay, well that's like 2 hours away from me, and I was like two for him, right? And then one might say, oh well, he came, to you. I'm like, no, he came to Philly. He was already gonna do that before I went, right? Me personally, sure, I'm not getting a tattoo, but I still went. I wanted to be with my friend, right? And I mean, even there, it was like I did a lot of the time just walking, right? Walking, looking at some other stuff, which is cool. But like, I don't know. I want a little bit more interaction. I want a little bit more like, I don't know, you know? But it is what it is. And I'm not trying to be greedy. I'm not trying to fucking take like anything that we have done as, friends away. It's just not conducive to the life that I want. The adventurous, the other side of the spectrum that I want to be on. I'm not seeing a lot of people have that. It's like, sure, you got your family, you got your girl, you got your kids, whatever. Um, but like, I don't know. It's weird. But that's just my take. Everybody has their vices. Like I've said before, everybody has their vices. Everybody has their different levels of tolerance. Everybody has their way of doing things, and that's cool. Me personally, if we're talking about a level of friendship, like there's a certain level that I'm looking for, just like everybody else is looking for, or somebody who may not actually care, but I don't know. It's awkward when I hear people, oh, I don't have friends, I don't have friends, I don't have friends. But then you go on Snapchat and like they got they're with a bunch of people, right? Or they sit there and they're like, oh, well, I don't talk to anybody. But then they send massive amounts of fucking of comments on a YouTube channel, right? It's like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? You don't have friends, but everywhere, almost anytime that I see you online, you're surrounded by people. Okay, so you don't consider them friends. Okay, so then why would you say friends? Why don't you change your vernacular for that and say, hey, I got acquaintances, or hey, these buddies. But I mean, it really all depends on how like you outlook this, the definition of like friends and shit. Like to me, it's gonna be a back and forth street. I'm not gonna call you a friend if you don't call me a friend, right? I'm not gonna call you a brother if you don't call me a brother, right? Like that's a one sided relationship that I've been around way too long. But yeah. So when I sit there and be like, "Bro, you converse, you have friends," and it's like, "No, I don't." That's a fucking lie, bro. That's a fucking lie. If you can go on YouTube and comment on shit, you're socializing. So if you sit here and be like, "Oh, yeah, there's not a lot of people that socialize with me," it's like you're on YouTube, bro. You're literally writing comments every day or every other day, and you're getting responded to. Shit, at least for me, I send out a bunch of fucking things. I'll get a response for like a second, maybe an hour, and then it's done. It's wild. I've grown to accept it though. This is the world we live in. But anyway, um, And truthfully, this is why I find like almost any relationship nowadays is just like the most exhausting experience ever. Like, I don't know, meeting new people. I'm all for meeting new people, but it's gotta be in a social setting. Like, I can't. I don't trust motherfuckers anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really don't. And it's sad to fucking say, but I just don't trust. I don't like people don't have good intentions, right? Not everybody, but the ones that say we're like brothers, the ones that say that we're like family, are like, I don't know. Like I have my mixed emotions about it because it's like, dude, I want to have that, right? But at the same time, it's like certain people show me that you're just like my family, my actual family. Y'all want to sit there and be like, oh yeah, we're family, we're family, we're family. But then your actions, because you're doing a lot of this, but your actions are not, they're not saying the same thing. So you're doing this, and then your body's doing that. It's walking away. So I don't see that. I find that highly fake, right? It's the same thing. It's the same principle as if someone tells me like, "Oh, we're gonna go do this," and then that time comes, and then they flake, they bail, whatever, and it's like, okay. And I understand some people could say the same thing, like, "Oh, well, we asked you to hang out like 5 months ago, okay? And what were we gonna do? We're gonna stay at some dude's house, smoke a little, drink a little, and then do what? Oh, that's hanging out. One person is literally on the freaking computer doing their work, and you got two to three other people just sitting there fucking smoking, drinking, whatever. That's not social, bro. I get it. You got work to do. Well, then why don't you take a day off? Why don't you take some time off? Like, bro, what's 2 hours, right? That doesn't make any freaking sense to me. But this is why I find a lot of fucking friendships, acquaintanceships, to just be so exhausting. Anytime to go outside with a rando, it's so exhausting. Like, even if it's not a rando, it's still socially exhausting. Why? Because it's not the fucking same. I go to my D&D stuff, and everyone knows each other, either like on a social level, on some type of like, oh, I remember, back in the day, this type, like, whatever. But then, I'm there, and I just like, it's a lot. Like, I get fucking social anxiety. Like, there's a lot of, there could be 10 people, right? And like, I'm just sitting there, and everyone's talking about like something that they did. They're all having something in common. I'm not them. Like, first of all, I'm not just gonna like talk. I'm not sure, so I'm not gonna talk over somebody. Like, I'm the type of person where if I was reading something aloud, like my last D&D session, I had made a poem for my character, or my character had made a poem. They wanted to read it out loud. And you know how like you're at a tabletop game and people still having Discord like amongst themselves or whatever? Well, the decibel was too high. And I've done this in school too. So when I'm starting to read my stuff and the decibel gets a little too high and it's interrupting me, I'll just stop. I'll just hold my breath until everybody get their, like, hey, okay, here's this guy. Cool. I'm not gonna be rude. I'm not gonna sit there and be like, "Oh, you can't talk." Like, no, I'll be quiet. Since everybody else wants to do their thing, I'll be quiet. Now you just have this guy standing after he said he's gonna be making a prayer or some shit, right? But anyway, but like, yeah, it's just highly exhausting. It's fake relationship. It's a fake ship, to a degree, and especially when you're going on a public setting, especially like if you're dating or if you're like just mingling. Like, dude, you know how many masks you have to put on just so somebody doesn't think that you're weird, or like you have to refrain from saying something because like, oh well, the other people, they're gonna fucking whatever. It's like, dude, we live in a society now where everybody's fucking butthurt about something, and I'm just like, I don't want someone coming up to me asking me like, "Hey, what did you mean by that?" Because one, I don't have to explain myself to anybody. I don't. But because I know that's what everybody feels like they like other people should do, it's like, you know what? Then what I'm gonna do is just not say anything that would cause a problem like that. Now, of course, I go on Twitch and I go on YouTube and I say whatever the hell whatever in reasonable tonnage and attitude I will say. I could say and do whatever to a point, and then whatever. But like, if you think that I'm gonna change my outlook on life, or you're gonna change myself because other people expect me to, that's not happening. That's not happening. You expect me to change because of you? Like, nah. People change when they want to, right? But at the same time, you also have to give a valid reason, like why. Like, oh, what I've like, if I said, you know, if I said something outrageous and somebody said, "Oh, well, that's not something you should say," I don't care. I know it's not something I should say, but it's something that I can say. Like, and don't get me wrong, there's a big difference between projected things you can say, or I mean, projected things that shouldn't be said, and just things that shouldn't be said, right? Saying that you mess around with young kids, it's probably something that you shouldn't say, right? Like, no, you shouldn't be saying that at all. Now, if you're saying hanging out with little kids, like on the internet, playing video games, it's like you might want to refrain from saying it like that, but like I could understand what you're trying to convey. I know it's like two totally different scenarios. I know sometimes the scenarios don't really make sense, in, coming from me, but like hopefully some of y'all get the gist. Like, saying that you are gonna jump off a bridge and saying that you will jump off a bridge is like two totally different things, right? Because I am going to do this and I will do this. One is saying that you might not do it, and the other one is you are gonna do it. So it's like different connotations depending on how you say things. So I get that, but there's plenty of times my dad told me like, hey Donnie, like chill out, chill out. And I'm like, I don't give a flying fuck about anybody else's like POV. Because if you were to ask me, like, oh, well, what do you mean by that? And then I explain myself, and then you still don't get it, and you still tell me, like, I shouldn't say that, I'm going to be tight. You're the one that asked me how, like, to express myself. So I express myself, but then you dog me for expressing myself. That doesn't make any freaking sense. But then let me do the same thing to y'all, and y'all gonna get butthurt, right? That doesn't make any sense. The dichotomy and the freaking bigotry to it is just weird. So anyway, that with all that being said, this kind of leads up to obviously psychology today. We're gonna be talking about a little bit of like the mindset. I'm not a doctor. I never want to be a doctor. But I do speak on situations that I have experienced in or I have witnessed. Okay, so just forewarning that I am not a doctor, and all this is just tacked on experience from my point of view. Okay, good. The strong belief that you are flawed and don't fit in can come from two formative childhood experiences. You have started with parents who made you feel you weren't good enough, or not as good as a sibling, or not what they wanted. They didn't have to explicitly say this, but they communicated with a tone and attitude, or by seeming disappointed. 2. When you got to school, classmates started treating you poorly, excluding you, bullying you for whatever reason. Add social media, bullying to the mix, and it's even more brutal. Different, awkward, ignorant, nerd, dork, artist, loser. I've never heard artist as a derogatory term, but okay. Loser, poor, inept, uncool, not white, not straight, not male, not good looking according to norms, not behaving correctly, not from the right neighborhood or country, not from the right family, wrong kind of body, scapegoat, not human. There are always words for the social rejection and labeling that happens early in life. In what can be the brutal childhood socializing and bullying behaviors reflected social prejudice and broader institutional violence sweeping its personal relations. So, for those that couldn't get what I was saying, it's basically telling you like at some point in your life, either you, someone you know, has had a point where they were not as everybody else. And here are some actually really good points that they make. Um, Parents who made you feel you weren't good enough. Are you kidding me? Parents are like the biggest form of childhood trauma. They don't mean to be. They don't do it maliciously. Not all of them. That's the only caveat. Not all of them make it out to be that they were doing it out of malice, but for the most part, they do it unintentionally and without them really knowing they are causing harm, right? So, you know, and this what I have highlighted is just like the umbrella for everything that we're about to talk about. So, parents who made you feel you weren't good enough. And it doesn't even have to just be parents. It's just people like who made you feel you weren't good enough, right? Because it doesn't just have to be a parent. It could be a friend. It could be a sibling, whatever, grandparents, whatever. So it's just people who have made you feel that you were not good enough, right? Now, here's the second caveat: not as good as a sibling. Now, I have sisters, and I have like one brother. My younger sister, straight A's, blah 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 blah. Like she was an honorable student, gifted and talented, all this fun stuff, right? Now, her and her dad are book people. I'm not. I'm a hands-on person, right? So I got told plenty of times, like, why don't you be more like Casey? She reads, she sits down, she reads her books, she hangs out with her friends, whatever. And it's just like, why are we comparing each other? Like, why are you comparing me to my sister? First of all, that's your daughter. You're not my dad. Like, you're not my father, right? So that's your blood. So of course you're gonna have like some connection more than us. But like, why are you comparing me to her? Hmm? Oh, because you have nobody else to compare to? Like, I don't. That's not the craziest thing. Is like this guy's a psychologist, so that makes it even worse that I got told as a child, as an older sibling of two, that I was supposed to be more like her. And I'm like, okay, um, or not what they wanted, right? I've heard plenty of times, like, if you ever had somebody's like, oh, well, you're not the child that I wanted. Like, I wanted somebody more like me, or you got too much of your other parent in you. Like that puts that fucking child down, yo. Like that shit sucks. And the craziest thing is like our parents really think that this is okay to say. Like they really think that this is a norm that should be said and to children, you know? Not. I really don't understand why somebody might think that, you know? I don't know where that logic came in from, but it needs to stop. It really does. Because you're you're unintentionally hurting your own children, your own spawn, or whoever. But right. So then they didn't have to explicitly say this, which we just talked about. It's all about actions. If your sibling is the one who gets straight A's, and it seems like they get more time with parents, or they get more like just materialistic things, that's a form of favoritism. And I've told my dad this too. I was like, Dad, growing up, it was a I saw the way that y'all fucking treated me compared to Casey. And a lot of it had to do with fucking indoctrination. Like indoctrinated to think that, oh well, uh, you know, it's just the way that it is. And it's like, dude, I had to tell him, like, you know why Casey would always come up to you and ask you, oh, Donnie wants to know if we're doing this, that, and the third. He's like, why doesn't he come up to me? Because I'm not your child. And I've seen already how the family fucking looks at a black sheep like myself. Okay? So, like, no, I've been indoctrinated to think that, like, whatever. I've been indoctrinated to think, like, oh, we're family. But I saw how y'all treated us. Completely freaking different from one another. And that wasn't fair. And I didn't get to really say anything until I was 30 some years old. Just like I was telling my dad, I'm like, Dad, you sit here and you apologize for all the things you wish you had done. And I'm like, what does that do now for me? Because I'm already distraught. I'm already fuming. Like, you want me to calm down from something that happened 30 some years ago or 20 some years ago. And I'm like, you do realize that's how I've stayed alive, right? Is to focus on on the negative so that I can do different, right? So now anytime that I come around, my neighborhood, or if I go hang out with my folk, you do realize that, like, that's my PTSD, right? And I literally just said this to him like a couple days ago. So nah, I'm not like that. Like I was telling him, I'm like, we did things your way when I was younger. Now we do them my way, or we don't do them at all. And that, of course, that's only for him, but it still holds somewhat true to a degree. But yeah. See, it says they communicated with a tone or attitude, or or it's just seeming disappointed. You know, freaking. I mean, it's self-explanatory. There's not much to say on this one little segment except for, like, I'm pretty sure we all know what the hell this thing is talking about. Anyway, um, bullying you for whatever reason, and then everything else is like just social norm stuff. Like, oh well, you know, you don't have this Gucci bag, right? You're poor. You're this. You're that. You're dirty. Uh, Whatever. It's like any which way to just put you down, and they don't even know you, right? I find that very, one, hypocritical, and two, very just biggity. Because you don't know. You're assuming that this person is unkempt, that this person is nasty, right? It's like if somebody were to tell me, like, oh, well, you must have done hard drugs because you don't have teeth. It's like, yeah, maybe. You won't know. But then you'll find out from somebody else, like, oh no, there was an actual reason why that happened. And how many times has somebody that you've known, or maybe you yourself, you assumed something about somebody, and then when you come to realize, like, oh, that wasn't the actual truth, how stupid you looked. Yeah? I mean, that should be humble pie right there. But I guess everybody got to get knocked down a peg a couple before they realize that. And it's so funny. Those are the same people, when you do knock them, or you try to knock them down a peg, they want to sit there and be like, oh, well, where'd this come from? I have no idea where this fucking. Yeah, exactly. Because you're fucking. Because you're selfish. Anyway. You have social isolation stigma. If you suffered through either of the above experiences, especially if you survived both, as a result, it feels like you don't fit in, or can't fit in, or even that you don't want to fit in. So you isolate, which feels like a relief from stress, but also leaves you feeling alone. Your comfort zone also feels like confinement. Does it have to be this way? Okay. So basically, this is just touching back up on, like, everything that I was saying before. That, um, like, when it said that you may not feel like you fit in, or that you just don't want to, right? Because nihilism is so easy to get into, right? One person puts you down, and it continues to happen and continues to happen and continues to happen, and then eventually you're gonna build that stone wall around your heart, and then you're gonna treat the next person like that, and then the cycle continues. So it's y'all may not think that like what you're doing has any effect because it doesn't pertain to you, but this is one thing that I have to say about the entirety of like our civilization is everyone's so focused like about them and about like their ideas and stuff that they forget that everything they do has a consequence, right? So I know there's really no reason to cheat, but let's say psychologically, you and your partner for 6 years have you've hit like a stale, right? Like you guys talk, you guys do stuff, but you feel like there's just nothing going on. Like there's something missing. You talk to him. Hold on, I'm trying to see where I'm going with this. Uh, hold on. Oh, consequence. Okay, so like for me, it would be all right. So we know that cheating is bad, right? And we know that if you're really gonna do anything, you should probably just end the relationship first, right? But but let's say for whatever reason they decide that they don't they don't want to break it. Like they wasn't they weren't thinking about just breaking it off. They weren't they just wanted to do shit, right? So we know that if the person just had ended the relationship, that then they could go do whatever the hell they want. But now they decide that instead of just ending it, they want to go cheat too. Well, if they get found out, and let's say they're in a state where that kind of stuff is a no-no, what are the ramifications for that? You know, like if you were in the military and you were the one cheated and you're a soldier, you can get in trouble for that because that's adultery, right? So, I mean, it all really depends, but like for the most part, there's always a consequence for something, right? Always. If you fail to, invite a friend, is that friend going to invite you to places? No, they're not. So it's like it's a weird conundrum to be in, but hopefully, hopefully that's not what everyone experiences, because no one really should experience that stuff. But there's a consequence to everything, right? And that's basically what I was trying to get at. It's just um, it feels like you don't fit in, can't fit in, do what you want. So you isolate, which feels like a relief. And I do this a lot too. You know, I mean, it's not that I do this a lot. I don't know anything else but isolation. Um, and it's just because of like where I am. I don't have the same level of camaraderie that I have here that I had someplace else. And I miss it. But I'll sit there and I'll like there's times where I don't even freaking I'm so depressed. I'm so like I don't want to do nothing because of isolation. You know what I'm saying? Like it's that cabin fever gone wrong. Um and I keep trying to tell myself like, "Oh, well just do this, just do that." Yeah, it's easier said than done. Anybody could tell you like, "Oh, well just do something different. Go out, go ride a bike." Bro, I don't even want to get up. I don't even want to play video games. I don't even want to stream. I don't even want to talk to people. I isolate. You can't just get over that, right? So let's see what else they have to say. 6 signs of isolation. You find social activities exhausting. While attending social events, even with friends, you may feel drained. So much work being around people and acting the right way. What did I just say? Right? You have to act a certain way in today's society because of other people. So now, because of other people's wants, you have to act a certain way. But what if you don't want to act that way? Oh, too bad. Society tells you have to. And who gets the brunt of that? I'm not even going to sit here and do this whole like sexism thing, but for the most part, for the most part, you got a lot of because you do both. You get this you got to be acting a certain way for society on both the male and female side, right? But no one is telling females they got to man up. No one is telling females that society runs around like society revolves around them, right? Not saying that that's like good nor bad. I'm just saying these are things that are not explicitly told to females. This is only in the sphere of fucking men. How do I know? Because again, that's how I was indoctrinated. I was indoctrinated to think that I was a boy, I could ride my bike around the block, right? But if you let me ride my bike around the block, guess what? My sister needs to have a bodyguard. Okay, I mean she is 4 years younger. Cool. But then that restricts me from doing what I want to do because now I got to tag along with her, or she's got to tag along with me. Oh, and even when I was old enough to go venturing out, I couldn't. It was like, oh, are you sure? Do you want this? Do you want like I don't know what to freaking tell you. Like, how is it that you're gonna give me agency, but then take every part of agency away from me? Oh, you can have friends, you just can't bring them to the fucking to the house, right? But society has this painted picture about people that is just like, you know, like I said before, you're supposed to do things the right way. You're supposed to do things societal way. You're supposed but then, nah, no one's doing the same for you. So you're giving, 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 and no one's giving back, and it's annoying. It's annoying, highly annoying. But yeah, so then you go, and then even if you want to take like if you want to stem away from all that, right? Someone invites you to a social setting. People got agoraphobia. And for those who don't know, agoraphobia is when you have a phobia of being like in close proximity of people. It's almost like confinement, like not confinement, when the walls are like caving in, but like with people. You don't want to be touched by a person, you don't want to be like elbowed at like it's like yeah. It's I got a fucking laptop right here. I'll give you the actual definition of fucking agoraphobia. Alright? Agoraphobia. An anxiety disorder characterized by specific fear of particular places and situations that the person feels anxious or panics, such as open spaces, crowded places, and places from which escape seems difficult. Right? That's it. That's agoraphobia. So an agoraphobic person is going to look at like going to a social event, going to a concert, going to the club, going to all these places as like, nah, I'm good. Right? Now, of course, not everybody's like that, but this is where you got to be a little attentive to whoever you're with and be like, hey, you okay? You want to be here? Nah? All right, let's go someplace else. But how many people actually do that? Probably none. Nah, I shouldn't say that because that's a lot of people that wouldn't do that then. Um, should I get this fucking hangout? I'm trying to get out. Anyway, yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and placate to other fucking people because they want me to act a certain way. Nah, I'm good. Feel like you have to hide who you really are, which kind of ties into exactly everything that I freaking said earlier. You have to act a certain way. Deep down, you believe if people see the real you, they will reject you. That's a little bit, you know, that's what do you call that? Subjective thing. Like, because not everyone's gonna feel like, oh, they'll reject you. But in a lot of cases, yeah, there were times where, how many times you were in school and you're like, if you say that you liked a certain show, or that you liked a certain anime or a certain whatever, that you're gonna perceived as like not part of the boys, or not fit in with the cool kids anymore, right? It's like a form of peer pressure. That's just like, hey, if someone knows that you watch, Cook Wars, anime, or that you like My Little Pony, and you're a 40-year-old man, people are gonna laugh at you, and you can be like, well, then I'm not gonna tell nobody that I like, you know, My Little Pony, which is probably better. I'm just playing. Nah, express yourself, man, because like that's the type of shoot that like people will end themselves for. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think a lot of y'all grasp the situation that like you want to sit there and be like, oh well, this down the freaking third, and yet you're doing it to somebody else too, and you either you fail to realize it, or you realize it and you still continue to do it, which makes you even less of a freaking human being. But whatever. You usually compare yourself to others, assuming that others are always better than you, right? Oh, you did such a good job. Oh, yeah, nah, I didn't do as much of a good job than you, right? Playing a video game with somebody, it's like, oh, dude, you got an awesome double kill. It's like, yeah, but I only got 5 kills. Look at you, you got like 15, bro. Like, you're way better than me. That that's that's a form of social isolation. You're, even though some people are gonna be like, oh, but that's being humble. That's like showing that you're respecting. Yeah, again, this is all like subjective shit. But for the most part, when they say stuff like that, it's basically the same thing. You know, freaking you want to sit there. You got you and your girlfriend, assuming that you're a girl, you guys have the similar dresses on, right? And it's like, oh my god, that dress looks so good on you. It's like, yeah, but yours fills you out so much better. Like, I'm so jealous. Oh, dude, hey man, that tux looks great. Yeah, man, but whatever. I don't even know how guys would compliment each other to that extent. It's like, I don't think I've heard guys compliment each other on stuff like that in a while. But yeah, nah, fucking, it could be anything. It's like, bro, your house is nice. It's like, yeah, but you got a wife, bro. Like, I don't even know like the real, examples that I could give, but like these are just a couple, you know. Fucking you usually compare yourself, you have a strong inner critic voice that bullies you. You always have that one like, what do they say? They're Virgos are like the worst critics of themselves, or some, or whatever the frick it's called. But like, yeah, somebody could tell you, be like, "Oh, you're the best," and it's like, I'm the best. That's why I have no job, and this is why I have no car, and this is why I have no girl, and this is why I have no kids, and this is why I have nothing. Right? You're sitting there like really putting yourself down. That's kind of like five is like the next tier uh after four, because or like even five is just like the top tier of all four of them, all five of them, because it's like if you compare yourself to another, right? But you assume that they're always better than you. That's part of your inner critic voice that's bullying the fuck out of you. It's like, yeah, you're nothing but scum. You know, uh, you, God forbid, somebody had lost a child through no volition of anybody, just they lost a child, right? You're gonna go and sit there and be like, oh, you're the one that caused that child to be unalive. It's like, no, Nobody did that. It just happens. It's like, no, it's still your fault. That's a little messed up to think about yourself, but like, I don't understand why you're doing this. You tell yourself that you prefer solitude, but truthfully, you have to feel lonely and left out. These are big, big things. Now, I can't sit there and say this is an introverted or extroverted thing. I can sit here and say that I always feel like this, right? I've told my girl, I'm like, listen, I'm an introvert that wants to be an extrovert. But then when I get put into extroverted situations, I don't want to be an extrovert. I'm good. Because a lot of it is just tiring. A lot of it is just nonsense. A lot of it is just fucking, you know, it's a lot of pandering. It's a lot of just fakeness. It's like, I'm good, dude. Like, how many how many times I've sat there and was like, bro, like, I want more couple friends, right? Then I get just one person that, like, my girl knows, and they'll be like, oh yeah, they wanna do this, they wanna do that. And it's like, okay, well, let me know when these guys are ready, and then I'll fix my schedule. It's been like 3 months, and it's like, and this is why I don't trust people. This is exactly why I don't trust people. Not because, like, oh well, they chose not to hang out. It's just like, bro, I was told that this person's more free during the weekends. Okay, but then they're with their girl. Okay, but you just said that you wanted fucking other couple friends, right? Or you wanted other guy friends. So then what the fuck? That doesn't make any sense to me. You're the one that put parameters on yourself and the relationship that you want with others, but then you won't go out of your way to do that. So then I don't want nothing to do with you. Not because like you're not worth it, it's just that's not the kind of energy that I want in my life. Like, oh, I want more guy friends because I don't have guy friends and I'm always with my girl on the weekends. Okay, well then set up a day where it's just you and the guys. Oh, well, I don't have a lot of guy friends. Okay, but you spending all your time by yourself or not like going out or, hitting somebody up, if you continue to do those things or not do those things, you're going to continue feeling less and less more involved. You're going to go more into solitude. So, but for the most part, not everybody actually wants to be isolated. They don't. No one goes out of their way and say, "I want," and this is gonna be my thing forever. No, they just feel that way. Like, I mean, unless you want to go off the grid and you want to be a hermit, cool freaking beans. But I'll tell you what, even hermits and those isolators, they're gonna sit there and be like, yeah, after a while it gets lonely. It's just a human freaking nature. All right, we're all bound to be intersocial freaking beings. But like, again, I'd understand why somebody doesn't want to do it. So so now let's talk about how we're gonna start letting go of this stigma, right? The first thing to know is that, like most personal growth and change, there's a step-by-step process that takes patience and practice. And with each effort, ev- another small step outside of your comfort zone. Let's break it down. Reviewing the past, try to understand your history, looking for likely sources of feeling repeated rejection, or getting the message that there's something wrong with you. Was it the way that you were treated by your parents, or kind of a scapegoat role you played in your family? Was it bullying in school? Like, you gotta really just think like, all right, well, but see, I'm not trying to knock this away from anybody, but I've been trying to say people need to self-reflect a lot more for a while. Because this is one thing I feel people don't do. They want to sit there and point the finger at everybody else, and they cannot even take either their own criticism or that the things that they're pointing out are also the same things that either they're doing or that they perceive it as somebody else is doing that, but in reality, it's not even happening like that. And because that person assumed that's what's going on, they pushed everybody away. So it's like, and then that kind of goes into the next point, which is change your point of view. Look at your life objectively, as though you were looking at the story of someone else, like a friend or a character in a novel. Is it fair or just that someone should be treated this way? List the ways it was unfair. again, part of self-reflection or just reflection in general is how do I get to the main problem, right? So we go through life and we are sitting there, why am I messing up? Why don't I have friends? Why don't I like, but we look at these questions and we don't necessarily have the right course of information to really navigate through these questions. So we get overwhelmed and we start being blind to the truth. It's not everybody's truth, but it's a truth. And one of the truths is that, like, it's not you. It really isn't you, right? I've had to tell people that, hey, you're a great person. Oh, well, if I'm such a great person, then why is it that every time I express myself that I get people that only take me for granted? Well, let's look at that entire thing objectively, right? Let's bring this to a bigger story, right? If I'm talking to you and I'm saying, man, I had a great blast with you, like I'm having great, right? We're not even dating, we're not even in that kind of sphere. We're just hanging out, and it could be guy or girl, and I'd be like, dude, you're really good, or man, you're so energetic, you're so amazing, like I'm having a blast, right? And then you look and you're like, really? Most of the time that I'm hanging out with people, everyone seems to like not want to be, not want to hang out. Or every time I say, hey, do you want to hang out? They say no. And then I see them hanging out with somebody else, or, you know, they take me for granted. I tell them all my backstory, and then they use that stuff against me. And I've literally told somebody that, like, okay, but that's not you. Like, nothing that you did or nothing that you say was had anything to do with you, right? You sat there and thought you were having a great time, or you thought that these people were having a great time, but they weren't. Well, again, you are the problem to an extent, right? Like, and no one's the problem. That's why I had to put in quotes, because it's not a problem, but somebody else is going to perceive it as a problem. Oh, the problem is that, you're expecting too much. The problem is that, you're extroverted, the other person's introverted. The thing is that you don't let people, you don't have people respect your boundaries. So if you don't want to hang out, they do, whatever. You're not the problem. And I'll say almost 7 times out of 10, the person that's feeling the way of loneliness and stuff like that is never the problem. It's the problem of other people. Why? Because they're not attentive to you. They don't care if you're having fun. They don't care if they hurt your feelings. They don't care. These are the same people that, some of them are either players, some of them go around and they only care about materialistic things. They have no consideration for people's well-being and or feelings. And you can see a lot of this growing up. And even if it's not growing up, as an adult, you start seeing the patterns of people and you're like, you know what? That's not conducive to how I want my life to be structured. That's not something that I want to make my life or health even better. So change your point of view. Don't look at it like, yes, reflect internally, but if you're still coming up short, or if you're still like short in answers, if you're still coming up short with answers, then you might want to take the question and broaden it, right? So now, instead of how was I messing up, now it's like, well, where did this day mess up? Or if someone's if I can't even give a good example, but like, let's say you're hanging out with a friend, and you hear from another friend that that friend that you were just hanging out with was saying, like, hey, that person is, whatever. They did something that's a little whatever. Then you're like, well, that's not cool. Like, what did I do to deserve that? Right? Now you're thinking, like, what did I do to deserve that kind of rhetoric from that person, right? Now you look at your relationship with that person, you're like, bro, I was there when your mama died. I was there for when your puppy died. I was there for when something major happened in your life, and yet I even let you in my own home. as like, a guest, and as someone who didn't have a place to stay their own, and yet now you're bad mouthing me behind my back. You see how, like, we just took the first two steps. We reviewed the past. We were sitting there asking the questions, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong. But now we change our point of view, because now we're sitting there like, okay, well, I realized that I didn't do things, either maliciously, or I didn't do things out of character. Why am I being perceived this way? Well, it's not you, it's the other person. Either they're ignorant because they don't know what you went through, and they, instead of asking questions, they want to assume stuff, or that they're just that way. They're just a bigoted, heartless person. I mean, there's really only two types of people in this world: the people that will change for people, regardless of who they are, and the people that just go out of their way to be dickheads. We normally call them trolls, and we normally call them Karens, stuff like that. So again, this is like, there has to be a point where you stop reflecting on what you did wrong and broaden your mind to be thinking outside the box. Because if you constantly stay right here, everybody is going to look at that as like, you could actually end up isolating yourself more. Why? Because now other people are going to perceive this as like, oh, well, you're just negative. You're just always negative, or you're abrasive, or you're controlling, or that, you're intimidating. All these things are factors that other people have against you, not you having against yourself. You know how many times I've been told, "Oh, well, guys always tell me that I'm intimidating," or even girls are telling me that I'm intimidating. Well, are you? No, because I'm bubbly and this, that, and the third. Okay, so because you found out that you're the bubbly type, or because you're energetic, they have something wrong with that. They have, like, that's not on you, right? That's as simple as it gets. After a while, and this is why I keep saying everybody has agency to a point. Like, I have agency to be a nice person. Now, if I'm a nice person and somebody else still wants to be a dickhead, sure, that's their agency. But now, if somebody else says, "Oh, we'll turn the other cheek," hell no. If they go around thinking that, they can just do this to whoever, then they're gonna do whatever. Somebody's gotta knock them down a peg. Someone's gotta, put them in their place. And truthfully, it should be like that. No one should go at it. No one should be in their right or left mind and think like, oh, well, I'm just gonna be a horrible human being because I can. I mean, you can, but what did I say earlier? There are repercussions. You want to be a dickhead? Understand somebody else is going to return that favor. And then you're going to get butthurt. And then you're going to want to scream, oh, well, you're being racist, or you're being this, or you're being that. Like, bro, no. You started this. Now I'm finishing it. Right? Anyway. So those are two things. And I see that a lot. I'm not even going to lie. I see that a lot with everybody. I see it with kids. I see it with adults. I see it with women, men. I see it with like older people. I see it all the freaking time. Y'all sit there and be like, "Oh, I'm the problem. I'm the problem." Bro, remove the lens. Get out of this space right here. Like, I mean, but I get it though. Everyone, again, has their threshold. Everyone has their ability to do that, to cope, or to break out of that cycle. I had to do it by myself. No one told me about all these like mental growths. No one told me about, like, this keeping your iron shell around your heart type deal. Like, nah, I learned that as time went on, and now I'm like 30, and I'm starting now to like unveil my heart to certain people, but I'm still careful. So now the third thing is to take stock. After an honest conversation with yourself about how fair these judgments were, take stock. If you have qualities that you still believe are problematic and that are within your power to change, take a hard look at what you can do. On the other hand, it's likely that you were unfairly treated for reasons based on ignorance and prejudice. That's an injustice to overcome. I've literally just said it. Of course, this is all in my Discord, and y'all are probably sitting there like, oh, well, you read up on this. Like, no, dude, I've literally went through these things, and I did them myself. Like, I'm not gonna name drop a lot of fucking people, but for the most part, when I was married, I had to overcome a lot of this stuff because I was sitting there like, yo, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. And it's like, wait a minute, no. She like she went out of her way to do whatever the hell she wanted to do. She went out of her way to like criticize what I was doing and make me look like. And then I'm sitting there like, yo, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough, right? After we had gotten divorced, I was sitting there thinking like, yo, I'd never be in another relationship. Who would want a person like me, right? I was missing teeth. I'm still missing teeth. I wasn't really going anywhere in life. I had a job, I had a vehicle, I had a home, but like I didn't have any like aspirations. I wanted to work, continue working. And that but I always assumed that like, oh, nobody wanted that. If anything, had I taken a step back and realized that like those are all qualities that some people like. They want a hardworking person. They want someone who's a family person. They want, this and the third. It's like I kept looking at myself as the problem because that's how I was indoctrinated to think. I was indoctrinated to think that I would always be the problem, whether because I was a guy or because of my lifestyles. And it's like that's not fair, dude. Sure, there are things that I could have done to change, but there are also things where it's like I was treated unfair. So these are just things that you gotta take stock, and this kind of comes like in place after you've grown the fuck up. To be honest, 26 years old, not a lot of them not a lot of y'all gonna be taking stock. You know, 18, like any age. Not a lot of people take stock at your age. But you know who are, or at least the ones that I've encountered, are the people like in their 30s, in their 40s. You go anywhere past 50, 60, like yeah, you'll get it, but like you'll get the like, oh yeah, I could have done things different. But they've already been set in their ways that they're not really gonna change, and it's too late. But it happens. It happens. But as long as you take the first two things, you do your first two steps, then you really take accountability. They should change it to take stock, take accountability, right? Take accountability for the things that you did or did not do. Oh well, yeah, no, the things you did or did not do, and then take and then give, not give, but also accept that the other side of where you were treated unfairly, sure, it is the wrong feeling to have. Like, no one should feel like, oh, well, I was treated unfair. I just understand that, they um I was treated unfair, but like understand that that's on them. So if you've ever felt like, hey, I was treated unfairly, and you still kind of beat yourself up about it, understand it's not you. Not 100%, right? And if it isn't 100% you, then I'm glad because then at least you're getting one step closer because you're realizing that it's like, okay, well, even though like, all right, I'll give you a story. At school, I wrote on my blue jeans, right? Now, anybody who writes on their jeans, sure, it's gonna be pen, it's gonna be hard to get out, but you wash it a couple times, it comes out, and it's pants. Who freaking cares, right? You're like 12 years old, you're writing on your pants, all because you don't want to pay attention to school because they want to have an activity, and I'm just like, bro, I don't want to participate, so I'm gonna just draw on my pants, right? So then I go to daycare or whatever, and then my mom picks me up, and then she sits there and says, who wrote on your pants? And I was like, I did. I got my ass whooped for that. Now, do you think that getting my ass whooped was the necessary response to writing on my pants? No, that was an unfair disciplinary action, right? Should I have been told like, hey, you shouldn't be writing your pants, like whatever? Should it have gone a different way? Oh, of course. Am I wrong still for freaking writing on my pants? I would disagree, but I'd understand where somebody's like, yeah, you were wrong to write on your pants that your parents got you. All right, I get that. But it's the action afterward that I don't like. And that's how I always thought. I'm like, dude, I don't mind taking accountability for what I did, but I want other people to do the same fucking thing. And it's the craziest thing. So no, I don't think that I should have got my ass beat, ran around through my grandparents' home, but stark naked, and had to scrub the pen off. But if I didn't get beat, and I didn't get, if I didn't get humiliated, and my mom was just like, hey, uh, I need you to go down to the basement. I need you to scrub as hard as you can to get that pen off. Like, that's unacceptable. I would have been fine with that. But no, not only does she beat me, she then has me run around butt naked in front of like my entire step family, and then I have to go in the basement and scrub it off. Like, the first two were unnecessary. That was highly unfair. But the third one, I could see where, like, yeah, I'd have to do that, or I'd have to, you know, buy my own pair of jeans next time, right? I'd see the ramifications to it. I'd see the consequence to it. It's just what was done at the very beginning just wasn't conducive to it. So take a sober look at things, which includes the question, what if it's not me? You may need to look at whether the people you're spending time with are actually allies or good for you. And I've said this plenty of times too, even to my girlfriend. I'm sitting there like, babe, you want to sit there and be like, oh well, you were perceived, some way, shape, or form by both male and female, right? And I've said this for years. I'm like, you can sit there and fucking say, oh well, these people always said this, and these people always had this to say about me, and these people always did that, and these people always did that against me. And it's like, okay, and what does that show? What does that tell you about them? I don't. It tells you that they weren't good for you, bro. Like, if you're doing everything you can to be the better person, to find good in everybody, but then every time you give somebody that agency to be good and they want to be bad and they choose to be bad, guess what? They're not for you. You want to sit here and protect disrespectful people. And I'm not saying her. Now I'm getting off. But this is what people do. People will defend toxic ass people, whether it be family, whether it be other friends, whether it be, someone that you love or whatever. Power outage in Canada. Hydro and Quebec customers. Oh, power has been restored to most uh, Quebec customers. Um, and I'm just sitting there like, bro, that doesn't make any fucking sense. You're literally harboring negative energy against you. I've been I've been around people who have who have done whatever they can for like a parent, right? But then that parent goes around and says that that child that is doing everything for this child, for this parent, for this adult, you're not the daughter I wanted, or you're not, I wish you were more like your sister, or I should have just aborted you. I should have just never had you, right? I should have just threw myself against the wall type deal. And then you want to sit there and you want to be like, oh, but that's my mother, or that's my father, or that's family. No, do not entertain that. That is fucking wrong. Someone picks on you, right? All the fucking time. Someone wants to sit there and be like, "Oh yeah, your family," but then treat you like an outcast. How is that fair? So then why would you go out of your way to be fair to them? And I'm sorry, but like, people, I understand, want to learn at their own fucking pace. But goddamn, when you got multiple people telling you, "Hey, it's not you fucking up, but in a way you are fucking up because you're letting this shit happen." It's like people don't grasp that. But then sure, yeah, 10 years later they'll realize, oh yeah, everything that you were saying was right. Okay, but 10 years is 10 years too late. I'm sorry, I wasn't gonna go through that for 5 extra years. Nah, 5 years. You want to disrespect me, and it's like, bro, I'm not gonna sit there and fucking tolerate that shit no more. Like, and the craziest thing is, other people know this and still do it. So now, is that fair? Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. And of course, I'm gonna sit there and flat out tell you, like, oh, I've done half the fucking shit that I'm talking about, and I'm learning to be better. I'm not a good fucking person. Hell no. I just try to be good. That's it. Um, but yeah, you gotta overcome it at some point, because no one's gonna do it for you. Fight back against the inner critic through positive self-talk, right? And I've said this plenty of times too, where I'm like, I use negative emotion, negative rhetoric to build me up, right? And it's like, well, what do you mean by that, Shadow? It's like, okay, well, think about it like this. Everybody is, because negativity is easy. It's easy to absorb negativity. It's also easy to dish it out, right? Because you could sit there and be like, I don't care, fuck you, right? And then walk away. But if you're nice, you kind of get a little, and someone gets triggered, and now you lose all inhibition to retaliate in a positive way. So, example for me is, I have children that I don't get to see. Now, I could do something about it, but in reality, it's probably better that way. So I sit there and I say that I'm a good for nothing. That, when I get really depressed, I'll sit there and be like, dude, I just I have nothing to show for stuff, and um, this down the third. I'm just like, yo, I'm a POS because I don't see my kids. I sit there and think that, like, oh, I'm never gonna go anywhere. I'm gonna be like 80 years old still working because I don't know how to, like, just stop. And a lot of it's like, dude, I'm using that as ammo, because it's like, wait, how am I a POS? I've done I've done physically and emotionally taxing things for other people, and they benefited from. So how am I a bad person? Oh, because I don't get to see my kids, it's like, okay, sure, I've I can hold myself responsible to a fault, but at the same time, it's like, I had no help from their mother. Oh, well, we always have to come to you. What are you talking about? That is not that is not 100% true whatsoever. We always have to come to you. When? When have you ever come to my parents? When have you ever come to my neck of the woods? Never. And if anything, you told me that if I go stay with my dad, that I'll never see my kids again. So I understand that, yes, I have this rhetoric to be like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna see my kids because, whatever. But I use that, like, I say that, and I know that a lot of that, like, good 80% of that, is not even just about me. It's like, I love my kids. I don't wish I never had kids. I just wish I had them with someone different, someone who actually fucking deserves them. But fucking, at the same token, I'm like, yo, but this wasn't just all on me. Hell no. Hell no. For freaking 9 years, she could have left at any time, but she didn't. She waited until the ninth year, and then wanted to sit there and put everything on me. Like, I was the only bad guy. Like, all right, bro, cool. But, like, I sit there and I look at all these things objectively. I take stock in the things that I did. I give stock to the things that, to the people you know, who deserve it. And I sit there and be like, what are you talking about? Like, even if you feel like you're not a good dad, the fact that, you still care about them, the fact that you still want to be in their life, the fact that, you know whatever, it's like, oh, you're a good person. It's like, okay, but I don't feel it, you know. But that's okay. That's okay. Everyone has that inner demon that's like, you ain't shit, you ain't shit. But if you sit there and be like, nah, man, I am the shit, right? You can't sit there and be like, oh, well, I'm 26 and I feel like I'm not going anywhere in my life. It's like, okay, you're 26, but you got your own place, and it's like fully, it's paid. It's paid, and you have a job and you're paying it off, and you're not in an apartment, you're in a home, right? You're 26, you live in your own home, or you're 26 and you have a car. You're 26, you're whatever age, and you have something that some other people don't. Um, like, oh well, like someone gets raped, and someone gets raped, and they're like, oh, it was my fault. It was my fault, right? It was my that got me to that predicament. Not many would agree with that, but there are people out there that actually think like that. And it's just like they almost like, if they continue with that negative outlook, when they actually do get to like a healthy relationship, or when they actually do have something going for themselves, they're going to be like, I don't deserve this, because who would want to be with someone who is unpure like me, or whatever the rhetoric is inside your own head. It's like, fight against that with saying, nah, I am worth it. But of course, like I said, diving into the negative minds, diving into these negative ideas are a lot easier than building yourself up. It's easier to just say I'm a piece of shit. It's hard to say I'm a I'm a great piece of shit. Like, it's because you have to believe it. But if you don't believe it, then why would you say it? So, I mean, that again, that's a subjective thing, and there's definitely ways to think positively about yourself, and at some point you have to take stock, and also believe your friends. Don't sit there with your friends and be like, oh, you're just saying that to be nice. No, shut up for a second. Just shut up for a second. These are your friends, right? You've gone through the vetting process. They're actually there for you, and you're talking to them and saying, hey, I got some stuff on my mind, and I want to get it off my chest. I don't feel adequate. I don't feel like I belong. I don't feel this. And if you get a friend that's like, oh, that sucks, well, drop them. That sucks, because that doesn't correlate with you. You want actual like feedback. Now, if you get the people that are sitting there like, bro, I don't know why you keep having this negative outlook about yourself, but like, you're one of the coolest people I know, right? And you're just like, you're just saying that. Shut up. It's like, I know you're saying that out of like, that playful tactic thing, but no, understand that person could be saying that genuinely and saying, bro, you're a great person. You have so many things going for yourself. Stop looking at yourself in such a negative manner. Take that. Take that stock. Take that outlook. And even if you have to take a sober look, or like fighting back, right? If you want to put those up front, like here to like maybe change the point of view, or in between, you can rearrange these really in any which order, because eventually you're gonna get to the same thing, right? Because taking stock, having an honest conversation with yourself, or taking a sober look at things, is one and the same thing. It's one and the same thing. This is not even adequate to having a 6-step program. This is like 6, 7-step program. It's like a 5-step program, 2-step program. But anyway, um, which means the question: fight back against that. Take action. If you believe you can make some positive changes for yourself, find others with the same goals to get support. You're an alcoholic. Find some sober friends that are actually gonna motivate you to go to counseling. You have gambling help, same condition. You have to be support, either for yourself or for the other person that actually needs it. Okay? Now, I will say there are some people that can't even get past the first two stages, but they want to take action. So they failed to review the past, or that they did review the past, but it didn't change their point of view, yet they still want to take action. All right, yeah, we'll read it before I dive into something. But if you believe you can make some positive changes for yourself, find others with the same goals to get support. If the reasons you were treated poorly were based on ignorance or hate, connect with your people. Look for social support from peers. There may be an online or meetup group out there made of people who can relate and advocate for you in a supportive, dignified way. Now, not everybody's gonna think that this is 100%, legit. You gotta try. You gotta get out of your comfort zone, right? If you believe you can make some positive changes, then go get support, right? Motherfucker. If you believe you can make positive changes for yourself, then find others with the same goals to get support, right? Listen, I don't have a lot of people in my life that I actually look to for support, right? I even had to go to one of my I go to a lot of my guy friends because none of my guy friends want to talk about their feelings, right? I have one guy that wants to talk about his feelings, but like here, I'll just read you the freaking I'll just read you the message because like it's the most outrageous fucking thing I've ever done experienced, and I'm just like, bro. So May 16th was the last time I sent out a text to my buddy, right? And even his girl doesn't really fucking understand the whole problem, but whatever. So he sends me like this long, like this guy sends me like this long fucking, right? He's telling me about his life. He's telling me about all these things. I don't want to read it verbatim, but in May 16th, I was like, damn, dude, wish I could say it'll get better, but that'd be a lie, because he was going through stuff with his wife. His girl was like apparently cheating on him or whatever. And I've been in that situation. Yeah, I wish I could say it get better, but like he's sitting there saying that he is broken. Like this is affecting him way more than it affected me. I wish I could say it get better, but reality it probably won't, right? Not for a long while anyway. To be honest, I have my own opinions, but I'm gonna keep them to myself because I don't know the whole situation. Regardless, shit still sucks. Wish I could take the pain away and tell you to smoke and take a nap. Those kinds of things don't help in the long run, right? So now, yesterday in the morning, I was like, bro, how are you? Dot dot dot. Okay. Now, again, I said, hey, bro, how are you? Dot dot dot. I don't know if that's supposed to convey that they're not okay. If it's supposed to convey something, I don't know. I'm not a freaking psychic. So I say, what's the matter, right? And then he's like, life. Let me tell you first and foremost. I understand shit is not going great, but what kind of answer is that? What am I supposed to grab from that? So I said, fuck it. Let me see what else. Well, let me see what else is going on in this person's mind before I start jumping the gun. I was like, life is the cause of death. LOL. At least you got a home and your children. He hearted that message. Didn't respond anything back. So, because this person not only, because I can't stand one word answers, right? And I can't stand emojicon and fucking just like, I can't stand simple answers, right? Bro, how are you? Dot, dot, dot. That is a simple answer. You're not even giving me an answer. You're just like you would not convey that emotion in real life. I would see you. It's like, okay, I can say the same thing. I don't know what the fuck to tell you. Life is the cause. Life is the cause of freaking death, right? So, anyways, I was just like, at least you have a home and children, right? And you heart that. That's all he did. He hearted it. So I was like, all right, well, I can see you're not in the mood to talk. Just wanted to stop by and see if you're still alive. I appreciate you. I'm battling shit in my head. I'm worn out. Yeah, it gets overwhelming. Sometimes it's a nice trip of just yourself, or maybe just you and the wife, but it helps. Hearted it. Then I fucking sent him a thing for my Twitch or for my live, right? So now what? I mean, this is also the same guy that fucking got mad at me because I sent his wife a fucking message after they were like splitting up to make sure everybody was okay, right? And then he's like, "You don't hit me up." Fuck off. Fuck off. Right? It's mind-boggling. So it's like, dude, you're gonna do whatever. Like if you're gonna do whatever, and you're gonna just take that negativity. I don't want it. I don't want it. So now I'm gonna push myself away. I don't care now. Is that the appropriate thing to do? No, because if he hurts himself, I'm gonna be pissed. I'll be like, oh, well, I could have changed it. But at the same time, I can't hold that over my own head and be like, oh well, other people's lives and health and happiness are my responsibility. No, not because for one of two reasons. One, because that's not how life works, and two, if I really wanted to be a dickhead, I have done it for others, and others have not done it for me. So it's like, oh yeah, you can chalk it up as being petty, and it's like, no, I'm being fair. I'm being realistic. If I can give the shirt off my back to other fucking people, if I can give you my feelings and my emotion, and you can't, sure, like I said, look at the bigger picture. It's not about you, it's about them. But now, if you're telling them that what you're doing is not conducive to what you're actually wanting, which is a better life or a better mentality, then listen to what I'm trying to say. And if you still want to, like, somebody could sit there and be like, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best. And you're just like, I'm a piece of shit, I'm a piece of shit, I'm a piece of shit. After a while, the people that keep referring to themselves as a piece of shit or keep putting themselves down, nobody's gonna want you. Nobody's gonna want to come up to you. Why? Because that kind of negativity is not something that they find conducive to be in their life. Right? You gotta look at it both ways. So if the common denominator is a person, really look at that. And if you're not the common denominator, then it's possibly actions that you're doing that's the common denominator. And if all that gets said and done and it's still not you, then those people don't deserve you. And of course, you know, that's why I say it's all subjective because not everybody's gonna have that epiphany right off the freaking bat. And then it says here, find a supportive group who can help you in a dignified way. Start practicing. Once you have started repairing your self-esteem with the above steps, start getting more involved with people you like. Start with small exposure. Take yourself to more social activities. There may be some that are harder for you than others. Work your way up. It says if you can overcome the beliefs that people won't like you and give yourself a chance, you can prove to yourself that you're worth it. A challenge with social isolation schema is that you may have become too good at isolating and prefer your solitary experiences to the challenge of being with people. To a degree, we all have to cope with the fact that relationships are challenging, especially because of 19. Relationships can feel like a lot of work. We all have to make a decision about how much work we're willing to do and what to expect in terms of rewards of a friendship, support, and love from others. It's a job, bro. It's a job. It's a job. It's literally a job. Some people are gonna, how many times have you said, "Oh man, there's just something about your energy. There's something about your personality, your characteristic that I was just drawn to you." Right? That's something that I had to learn by myself. That is something that I had to learn by myself. I'm sitting here thinking, "Oh well, I didn't have the greatest facial features. I didn't have the greatest physical features, but I realized that if I just continued being me, if I just continued doing the things that I liked, I would find somebody that would not look at looks as a indefinite everything, right? And this is the thing. This is why I can't understand relationships nowadays, because it's like, oh well, why is girls like this and why is girls like that, bro? I used to be like that. I used to be like, bro, I got with one or a couple girls and they cheated or they did me wrong, and I was just like, bro, girls ain't shit, right? Girls are girls are all gold diggers, and I was on that Kanye shit. But at some point, I think I was like 15, 16 years old. I was still in that mindset, but like by the time I was 17, 18, I was like, oh, what the fuck do I care? Right? I know I'm a good person. I know that I have things that are worthwhile about me. I know that I can provide a certain way for certain people. So why am I keep beating myself up? So I stopped doing that and I let life like actually, I actually let myself grab life by the horns. And I'd say after my marriage, oh man, I was like not even just 10 times happier, but I felt better about myself. You know, like a story of mine after my relationship with my wife was I was with a friend where I was this was like Pokemon Go was coming out, and I'm out with my friend, and we went to this gas station, and I'm waiting for my guy to come out, and his boss had come out. Short little girl. Her name was Rebecca. Now, mind you, Rebecca was married. So I sat there. She was with her other friend, and I'm sitting there waiting on the guy. He was dealing with some customers, so I'm sitting there waiting, having my cigarette, and all of a sudden they say something, and I snickered. I was just like, now, mind you, mouth is looking the way that it is right now. That's busted, right? So I go, so I'm sitting right there, right? I'm sitting there, and I'm smoking my cigarette, and I'm just like, right? And they look at each other, they look at me, like, if I'm over here, Rebecca was like right here, like I'm further out that way, but like Rebecca was right here and her friend was over here to the left. So between me and Rebecca, it was her friend. So like they look at each other and like, and then they look at me and then they look back at each other and they kind of like snicker. It was like one of those playful like whatever, right? Ooh, ooh, type shit. And now, mind you, these girls are also way older. These girls are way older than me. I'm 24, 25. These girls are like 40. One was like 36, the other one was like 42 or 46. One or two. I think there was like a 10-year difference. Anyway, so I did all that. All that played out. My boy come out and they start talking. They like as he's coming out, they're starting to talk with him, and he comes straight to me. We dap up, and they're like, "Oh, you guys know each other?" He's like, "Yeah, man, this is Rico." I had a Rico Suave nickname down south. If you want to know more about that, let me know in the comments below, and I'll make a whole video about that. It's gonna be a 5-minute video, but I'll make a whole video about that. But anyway, he's like, "Yeah, this is my boy Rico. He's cool people, whatever." And like I said, this was coming out when Pokemon Go was out. First year of Pokemon Go coming out, and so my buddy calls me up. And we had a gym battle that was going down. I was like, and of course I'm fire, so I'm the I'm part of the oh my god, what the hell? What faction is the red? I forget what the red faction is, but I was and so um Valor, Team Valor. So I was part of Team Valor, and what do you call it? So I'm on my way back to the gym, and I don't think I made it halfway. And this guy, he calls me. Like this guy never calls me on Facebook. He calls me, and he's like, "Dude, are you free right now?" I was like, "Yeah, what's up? I need you to get back. to Kangaroo right now. Like, what the fuck did I do? I didn't go in the store. I didn't do nothing. He's like, nah, dude, just come here. And as I'm walking, he's like, yo, like not as I walk, because it was literally across the street. Like I'm pretty sure in your minds you're like, oh my god, halfway there. Like it was like a mile. Kangaroo, the gas station was like this block. It was a street here, and then the block where the gym was. So I was literally across the street. So I made it across the street. I didn't even make it to the gym, and he calls me, telling me to turn back around. I was like, all right, bet. So I turned back around, and he's like, bro, that Rebecca chick, do you like her? I was like her? I mean, I kind of had a crush on her like the day that I moved into South Carolina. He's like, bro, she wants your digits. I was like, are you kidding me? She's like, he was like, yeah, I don't. What did you say to her? I was like, I didn't say shit. I laughed at her joke. And he was like, bro, whatever the fuck you did, she wants your digits. And I was like, okay. And then he starts telling me that she's married, this, and the third. So, I told him to let her have my phone number and my, Facebook, whatever. And next day, hit me up. And for like a few months, it was like a relationship. Like, I'm gonna just put relationship like that. It was a ship, but it was nowhere near, that. I mean, it could have if I stayed. Um, but I don't think she would have like divorced her husband because like whatever. She had kids my age, so yeah. Um, but for the most part, like yeah. So and I did that. I did that for a long ass time, and I work security now. Best story that I have was I was working at this one actually a couple of bars, one strip one strip club and one just regular like Irish bar. And there was two separate times. One, it was a group of girls. They were doing some like I guess bridesmaid party or somebody's birthday. I don't know. And they all like sit in the corner of this one spot. And it was getting kind of late. The club was about done, or the bar was about done. And you know, we didn't have a DJ, so not a lot of people were in there in the first place. Well, they're leaving now. If this is the exit to the door, like over to my right, I'm sitting there like this. I got my all black uniform on, and I'm just sitting there like this, and I got my head on a swivel, and they're leaving, and every single one stopped by, and they're like, "Oh my God, are you like, what's your sign?" Now, of course, to me, that just shoots off red flags, but like, I told them I'm like, I'm a Virgo, and just whatever, and they're like, "Oh my God, like I could feel your energy from like way over there." And I was like, oh, well, that's cool. And then, like, we started talking. But, like, I'm not the type to start a conversation. I'm not the one to go up to somebody and start nothing. Like, nah. Like, you know. So I give off this, like, mysterious vibe or whatever the hell people want to call it. And, they had a great time. And, we had a deep conversation. They enjoyed it. And then they continued to drink and party and stuff. And I was like, all right, well, I'll be here. Bye. Didn't see him, but like whatever. It wasn't even about like the longevity. It's just like the point is like I didn't do much, and people came to me. And it's not like I'm rolling in charismatic and charisma. I'm just like an average person that just stays quiet, right? But like, um, there was another fucking time. Oh, again, doing security and just sitting there and freaking, you know, people wants to say something. Like I think I had a Hyundai Sonata, or no, I had the well, what the hell? Yeah, I had a Hyundai Sonata, or did I have the Cruise at the time? I think I had the Chevy Cruise. So I had a Chevy Cruise, and somebody else had a Chevy Cruise, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And they're talking about my car. So I'm like, "Oh, you like that car?" Like, yeah. I'm like, "Yeah, it's mine." you know. But and then we started talking cars. I'm not a big car buff person, but like, it was cool. Got to talk to two girls, and they both had, excuse me, a similar interest in cars, and I enjoyed it, and whatever. I don't talk to any of them anymore, but like, whatever. But you just do what you guys like to do, as long as it's like not being like a nuisance. But like, do what you guys gotta do. Do what's fun. Like, if you guys like hiking, go hiking. Like, now I'm gonna say this because other people, because I don't operate like other people do, but I do know that some people are the type to go venturing and doing stuff on their own. If you're that type of person, if you are that type of person, and and you think that no one out there is gonna find you attractive, whatever, I'd say either continue doing what you like doing and venturing outside of the area that you're doing. So, like, let's say you like bowling and you always go to this one bar, this one bowling bar. Well, I'd say go someplace else, right? Why is that? Well, the pool of people that are in your area, you know, it's dried up. And not necessarily dried up in the terms of like, oh, the people are dried up. No, it's just you fish there, right? Some people, you might meet one or two different people that you've never met before, or maybe not everybody's your type, whatever. But what I'd say is, if you like doing an activity and the activity is more close to home, I'd say venture farther out, because at this point it's like dating. It's like online dating where you tried the filter, which is like 5 to 10 miles in your radius. Now you got to go 15 to 20. You gotta venture out into areas that you're not aware of, or that you've never done before, and see what happens there. If you go to one arcade for an eternity, you'll never know that Dave and Buster's actually has better games, and you could go there by yourself if you really wanted to, and just you know eat and have play a couple games, do VR, and you'll find somebody that you'll probably strike a conversation with, right? There are plenty of times where I was in different countries and it was like, oh well, I would have never talked to somebody like that, but ended up talking to them and having whatever fun. So it's not unreachable. It's just a lot of people put the cement on their own feet because they're too afraid of the unknown. And I wouldn't say for everybody, but it's just like we do box ourselves in, that creates more tension and more negative feelings in the long run than if we were to just grab the bull by the horn and just go for it. But of course, you know, your brain is a powerful thing and your heart doesn't want to get broken. So your brain sits there and tries to think of logical ways of, you know, coping. And one thing that our brain does is either give up, or it tells us we're not good enough. It tells us, hey, look at all these red flags, or look at this person right here. Like, nah, just stay away from that, right? And where we got to listen to the gut, right? We got to listen to our gut. You know, some people say, like, oh, well, if the brain was telling me, if I was thinking that something was going to happen and it happened and I still did it anyway, that's the brain. I was thinking about it, but I didn't follow my gut. It's like, well, yeah, that's one way of looking at it. I think every part of the body, the brain thinks logically, the heart thinks emotionally, and your gut is just an instinctual thing, right? So it's three separate panels of the body. You can't sit there and be like, oh well, I think this, and then say your brain feels. No, that's like being said somebody punched me in the brain when in reality they punched you in the skull. Like they punched your skull. They didn't punch your brain, right? That my sister used to say some dumb shit like that. She's like, I don't like daddy anymore. He punched me in the heart. What? He didn't punch you in the fucking heart? What are you, crazy? Now, of course, they were playing around, and like he'd take his big ass hand and like do that chest thing, but then he'd take his other hand and put it on her back and then like kind of chuck us, and he did it to both of us, right? But I guess he was a little too hard one time, and like there was a thud, and then he picked her up and then did it, and she's just like, she goes to she goes to his dad, grandpa, and she's like, "Yo, grandpa, dad punched me in the heart or whatever." He's like, "What?" He's like, "Guess so. Is it just like, what the fuck are you doing?" All Spanish and shit. And he's like, "What are you doing? You trying to kill my grandbaby?" He's like, "What are you doing?" Casey's being over dramatic. I didn't punch her. I fucking, did the little body slam or whatever. So, but your brain doesn't feel like it. We have pain receptors in the brain, but your brain doesn't necessarily feel, right? We feel because of nerve endings and stuff like that, but like it doesn't necessarily feel. But when it comes to feelings, we think of someone's actions. We think of something that is being negatively done to us, and we feel a certain way. So we have this correlation between brain function and feeling function. Now, of course, one would say, "Oh, well, your heart, you don't feel anything." Yes, you're absolutely right. But the heart is what makes you cold, right? You're not black brain, you're black hearted. You're not cold brain, you're cold hearted or cold shoulder, right? So the anatomy and the correlation to what we're describing, the context of what we're trying to say and do or feel are correlated to something, right? So my brain thinks, my heart feels, and my stomach gut, right? That's how we perceived everything. So it is unrealistic to say that any of these things actually make you feel something. But on the off chance that like these are how everybody interprets this thing, then it would be safe to say that sometimes this part of everything doesn't match with this, right? And just like people who follow their gut, and most of the time they're right, I don't follow my gut, and most of the times I'm wrong. But I thought about the opposite, and I was right in that. But I'll never actually think about that. I'll only feel all the time that I lost to my gut. But then I won't trust my gut because my gut is normally wrong. My brain is right. So I don't trust my gut. I trust my brain. I trust the logic behind stuff. Oh, well, if you say that you thought it, isn't that your gut? Yeah, but I never follow that because I don't follow this gut. I follow this gut. This gut is always telling me wrong because this is not guts. This is logic. So if this is logic and this is gut, I don't follow my gut because my gut is telling me to go right. But my brain is saying everything that you know is to the left. But then sometimes I follow my gut, and then sometimes I follow my thought. Like I'm not gonna follow my gut saying, "Oh, there's a cliff here, and there's a piece of rope. Like there's a long thing of rope. If you slide all the way down, you'll get to your job. You'll get to that destination faster." Now that's my gut telling me, "Hey, you know, I should probably use what I have here to get down there." But my brain is saying like, I don't know, man. It's a pretty long drop. You know, I'm using logic. That rope doesn't look secure to that rock as much as you would like. I mean, is it like what's an extra 10 minutes to go, around this whole bend just to get down? It's about the same distance. You might take longer than 10 minutes. Who cares? Whatever. So then I'll go and I'll follow the logic. I won't follow the gut part, like right. Um, and then let's say that by the time I get to the ground, like, the rope was so disintegrated that it just like fell off and I would have died, right? Now, some would say, "Oh, well, you did follow your gut." Not at first. It was just, it's like you could say it's like coincidental or whatever. It's like, well, my gut was just saying like and see, I would perceive that as using logic, not gut, right? Because my logic is like, if I see bad signs, if I see red flags, I'm not gonna take those flags. But my gut was telling me, you know, it's easier to just go down with the rope. Go down with the rope. Logically, I was like, no, there's too many signs. Oh, well, then your brain is your gut. And I agree. And I agree. Like in that scenario, my brain was my gut. My brain was telling me, don't do that. That's stupid. Right? So, so I don't know what to say then. I guess any part could be the gut, right? If you follow your heart, that's your gut. If you follow your brain, that's your gut. If you follow the tightening stomach of what is going on in your stomach, then that's your gut. I don't know what to say. Everybody just perceives. This is why I say it's all subjective. Use what you know about yourself to your advantage. I would definitely say that. If you know that you think logically or you think more with, emotion with your heart, then if you feel that your heart is saying do this, I'd say follow it to a degree, right? I mean, everything has a but at the end of it. At the end of the day, a boxer does not win matches by having bad people in his corner. boxer has who gets a boxer gets wins not just through the fights that they battle, but through the support that they are given by the people in their corner. The guy is wiping his face, one person's fixing his nose, one person's giving him water, one person's doing whatever, right? Be that corner, right? Have people in that corner that are going to do stuff like that to you. If you only got if you say you have 50 friends, right? Realistically, I would go up to you and be like, how many of them are your actual friends? Oh, I have 50 friends. I have 50 real friends. So that means you should like, okay, you say you have 50 real friends, but then one day something happens and now all of a sudden, oh, everyone just ghosts me, this, that, and the third. Then you don't have friends. You're now realizing you don't actually have friends. If 48 of those people who you considered friends decided not to help you or tell you, hey, we are going to help you, but then flake last minute and then ghost you or, block you or whatever, those aren't your real friends. Or the ones that make fun of you while you're failing. Those aren't your real friends. And that's as simple as that. So definitely, like I feel for everyone who is in this predicament. I'm always talking about it. I'm always harping on it, right? But that's just me venting. I don't actually believe a lot of like the negative rhetoric that I say because I know it's just negativity and it's easier to get there. Now, that's stuff that I'm learning to do different, you know? Um and truthfully, even in the sphere that I'm in now, and even with me justifying what I believe to be like support, I do get it, but that's like to me it's just the most common sense type of support. Like, oh, you're down on money. Well, the support is somebody, the support is, oh, my dad or my step family, they'll give me money, right? I have that support, but that's not the only kind of support I'm talking about. Like there's emotional, physical support, right? So like if if I can't even give a good example right now. My brain's being all shot. But just know that you're not alone. This is why I made this platform. Anybody who's felt like a shadow, anybody who's felt like they don't belong, anybody who's felt like an outcast to the people that they cherish the most, like this is why we have the Shadow Realm. This is why we have Shadow's Den, and this is why I'm your host, X. Because I've been a shadow myself, and I still feel like one. I still feel like one. I'm learning to get over that to a degree, but like it doesn't fix it, you know. You can only heal it one wound at a time. But that's all I really got to say on the matter. And I'm actually going to be taking a break because um, I want to go and handle some business. I gotta eat. I gotta use the bathroom. But I'm gonna be back like in like 20, 30 minutes. I'm not gonna have you guys hold up on that. Um, but yeah, here's another 2 hour banter. But I hope you guys really, really think about what we talked about today. Really think about what support groups you have, what people you have in your corner, and really follow these steps. You know, this will be a eye opener for some, and maybe people who've already started doing this might, you know, they might reflect on stuff, or they might be able to hone in more on certain aspects of these 6 steps. So, to each their own. And I hope everyone has, you know, takes this and they're able to progress or progressively get better individually. And I just hope at some point we don't have any more shadows. So until next time, guys, be happy, be healthy, and you do matter. And if no one else cares, I do. So you guys have a blessed night. Happy morning.